All right, let's talk about a huge challenge and a huge opportunity in the mining industry. We're diving into some fresh findings from NEXGROW Academy on the skills gap. And look, this isn't just about training, it's really about future-proofing your entire operation. So let's get right into it. First, I want you to look at this number, 63%. That's the percentage of mining job applicants who, according to NEXGROW, just don't have the specialized tech skills that modern mines need today. This isn't some problem on the horizon, folks. It's happening right now, and it's a massive barrier to innovation. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really define this skills gap and figure out why the old ways of training are failing us. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the solutions, both in terms of new tools and, just as importantly, building a stronger learning culture. And finally, we'll see how you can actually flip this problem into a real competitive advantage. Okay, first up, let's really get to the heart of the problem facing modern mining today, this widening skills gap. So, what are we really talking about when we say skills gap? Well, it's pretty simple. It's this growing mismatch. On one hand, you've got mines that are getting incredibly advanced with automation, digitalization, new ESG standards, you name it. But on the other hand, the training methods are often stuck in the past. That creates a really dangerous space between the skills you need and the skills your workforce actually has. And let's be crystal clear about this. This is not some fluffy, abstract HR issue. This gap hits your bottom line hard. It tanks productivity because you're not getting the most out of your new tech. It puts safety at risk when people aren't trained for new procedures. And you know what? It kills your retention when your best people get fed up and leave for companies that actually invest in them. So how did we even get here? What are the root causes? In this next section, we're going to dig into exactly why traditional training just isn't cutting it anymore. The first big problem is that our training formats themselves are fundamentally broken for this industry. Think about it. We're still relying on these old school classroom courses, right? Multi-day seminars. But our mines run 24/7. You can't just pull a whole crew off a remote site for a week without crippling production. The old model just doesn't work with the reality on the ground. And this quote from Amanda Abali over at Anaconda Mining, it just hits the nail on the head. It sounds so simple, but it's a profound operational challenge. How do you train the night shift? How do you reach crews that are on a long remote rotation? The logistics of old school training become an absolute nightmare. And you can see the disconnect right here, side by side. On the left, you've got traditional training. It's rigid, it's generic, it's inflexible. And on the right, you have what the field actually needs, training that's on demand, mobile, delivered in bite-sized chunks, something people can access anytime, anywhere. I mean, they're worlds apart. Now, NEXGROW's research really highlights 5 big challenges. Those outdated formats we just talked about, being too slow to adapt to change, skills being stuck in silos, major accessibility barriers, and this last one, a culture that sees training as a cost. And I really want to zoom in on that one. Because honestly, this might be the biggest hurdle of all. For decades, training in many companies has been treated like a line item on a spreadsheet, a cost center. It's a compliance box you have to check, or it's the first thing that gets cut from the budget when things get tight. It's seen as something that gets in the way of production, not something that drives it. You can see the two mindsets right here. In the cost center column, training is reactive, it's owned by HR, and it's seen as a disruption. But in the investment column, it's proactive, it's strategic, it's owned by operations, and it's seen as a way to improve production. The takeaway here is simple. You can't solve this skills gap without making the leap from the left column to the right. Okay, that's enough about the problems. Let's talk about the solution. It's time to modernize the training toolbox. We're going to look at practical, effective models that actually work for the mining industry right now. One of the most powerful approaches out there is the blended learning model. It's a really smart 3-step process. First, your workers learn the core ideas online, on their own time, at their own pace. Step 2, they jump into a virtual reality simulation to practice complex or even hazardous tasks in a totally safe environment. And then finally, step 3, they take those skills out to the field for supervised, real-world application. And let's just double-click on that simulation piece for a second. Immersive training using VR is an absolute game changer. I mean, instead of just reading about an emergency procedure in a binder, your team can actually live it. They can operate virtual machinery, respond to simulated crises, and build real muscle memory without any real-world risk. And the business case for this? It's undeniable. The return on investment is huge. We're talking higher knowledge retention, studies showing 42% faster skill acquisition for complex tasks, and of course, a massive reduction in on-site incidents. Plus, it's exactly the kind of tech that engages the younger workforce you're trying to attract and retain. But here's the thing. You can have the best tools in the world, but they won't make a dent if your company culture isn't ready for them. And that brings us to our next critical step, moving beyond quick fixes and building a true, lasting learning culture. Building this kind of culture takes real, deliberate action. It means you have to reframe training as a strategic investment. It means making talent development a core KPI for your managers, something they're actually measured on. It means you have to protect time on the schedule for learning, and it means leaders need to start seeing themselves as chief skills builders, personally invested in growing their people. And hey, if you need any more convincing, just look at this breakdown of what actually makes employees stay. A company's investment in training is the single biggest factor at 45%. That's more important than their career path, and it's 3 times more important than what you pay them. The message here could not be clearer. People stay where they can grow. And the payoff is right there in the numbers. When you invest in advanced certifications, look at this. 73% of those employees stick around for more than 5 years. And that same training is linked to an 18% drop in safety incidents. These aren't soft benefits. These are hard, measurable returns that prove the strategic value. So let's bring this all home. Here's the big takeaway for every decision maker watching this. Tackling the skills gap isn't just about playing defense or doing damage control. It is about seizing a strategic opportunity to leapfrog your competition. This table really sums up the whole journey. You're moving from a workforce with lagging skills to one that is future-ready. You're shifting your mindset from training as a cost to learning as an investment. You're evolving from just reactive compliance to proactive performance. And ultimately, you're transforming that skills gap into your greatest competitive advantage. This quote really says it all. The future belongs to the companies that are agile, the ones that are focused on learning. They aren't just going to survive the changes that are coming, they are going to lead them. So we'll end with this question for you to think about. The technology, the new standards, the future of mining, it's not coming. It's already here. So the only real question left is, have you prepared your people for it?